Hi everybody, this is Killred40 and this is Colors of Gaming. I'm here today with Blue to discuss Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time was ported to the SNES in 1992.
Blue recommended this game. Why did you recommend this one, Blue?
It's one I actually picked up recently, and I remember I enjoyed it a lot growing up, so I wanted to give it another go and see how well it holds up and see if it's still just as fun as I remember.
So you played this one before this?
Yes.
When did you play it?
Back in 1990s.
And you remembered it all this time.
Turtles in Time has been one of those games that's always kind of sat in the back of my head, and I've always been a huge Turtles fan, so I was really excited to repurchase this game and see if it held up to what I remember.
I would have to say, after playing it twice, it definitely holds up. I think that even today's audiences could play it.
I definitely really do enjoy it, if not for the game itself, but it's just a nice reprieve and a nice break for some of your really heavy AAA titles of today.
For those of you who don't know or have never heard of this game, it's just a straight up beat 'em up from back in the day. You're just going from left to right, hitting bad guys and beating the crap out of all of them. I really enjoyed this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was surprised by the moveset and how just with 2 buttons they were able to pull off 4 or 5 different moves. When you jump into the air, you can press the attack button and it will do like a dive type kick. And then you can grab enemies and whip them around and hit them into the ground, or you can throw them into the camera, which is actually really cool in my opinion. What did you think of the controls with this?
I thought the controls were very good, very responsive. My only real complaint with the controls, which would more or less just be a complaint of the combo system, is when there's a boss fight where you do have to throw the enemies at the boss, and it's never quite clear how to do it. I mean, it didn't take very long to figure it out. It's just something to be noted.
Personally, I actually thought that was a lot of fun. You're talking about the little Shredder boss where
Yeah.
he's in a little machine of some sort, and you can't really see what machine he's in, but you throw it at the screen. I thought that those were a lot of fun. I liked being able to just figure out how to play the game. That's something that I personally miss from retro gaming, because I feel like modern gaming is just so streamlined and it's constantly bothering you how to play. So now that we've talked about the controls, what do you think about the music?
I really enjoyed the music of this one. I felt it complemented the game very, very well. Nothing seemed too repetitive or too annoying, and can definitely hear that old Ninja Turtle style with it. I feel like it's kind of like the stitching to the game where it helped tie everything together.
It sounds awesome to me. I love the little MIDI soundtrack and all these little bleep bloops going on, and it was just awesome. You get to hear a version of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle theme song, which, sorry everybody, but it's still the best theme song, and it feels really good. I think that even people that aren't nostalgic for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would agree that this is some pretty kick-ass music.
As soon as you pop it in and turn it on with it, kicking off that intro music, that intro scene, right away it tells you what you're getting into and what to prepare for.
What did you think of the graphics?
I thought the graphics looked very, very well. It is 2D, 16-bit pixels, but everything looked very clean, very sharp. The animation was top-notch in my opinion. Everything overall just looked really good.
Yeah, there's not much to complain about when it comes to animation or how it looks, especially for 92. This is awesome looking. The animations are a lot of fun. What did you think of the different characters and their attacks?
On most Turtle games before this, from what I can tell, is it was more or less every character was the same, but with this one they definitely made each character differently with not only their weapons but how their weapons respond. For example, if you pick Donatello, he is going to have that longer reach with his bow staff versus Raphael with his size, so it definitely gives you a reason to play around with the characters and kind of get a feel of who you're best with.
Most of them are pretty different. I was surprised switching from Michelangelo to Donatello how much of a difference there was, because with Michelangelo I just was kind of hitting the attack button as much as I possibly could, and then with Donatello I had to be really careful with when I was going to do it, because I noticed that, or at least I think that he has more frames than Michelangelo, and it made it a little bit more hard, as opposed to with Mikey I just kept button mashing and it worked out for me. Something that I would say though is that with Michelangelo and Raphael, I wonder if because of their weapons, if they still have the same hitbox. What did you think of the enemies in this one?
I was a little worried when most of the enemies we were coming in contact with were the Foot Clan, but there's a good amount of variance between them using different weapons, and you get introduced into different enemies further into the game, so I thought the enemy variance was very, very good in my opinion.
Personally, I didn't notice too much enemy variance. I did notice like a lot of different environmental traps though. So for example, with the pirate ship one, there's these little X's on the ground, and if you walk over them, the boards come up and hit your character in the face. But that's okay, this is a beat 'em up. I thought it worked out fine. storyline for the game. What was one of your favorite levels in this game, you'd say?
I honestly can't really give a direct answer in that one. I like all of the levels. I really enjoyed. I mean, I do think going with the time travel aspect, it gave them that creative freedom just to do any type of level they wanted, and they did. And the variance between the level style and layouts is very good in my opinion. So I'd say you could just pick any level and it'd be good.
I would have to say for me, I like the second to last level that was on the spaceship because it kind of mixed everything together that I liked about the game. It had the beat 'em up bad guys, and it also had a lot of different traps, ones that would freeze you and other things like that. My least favorite level would have to be the second one because it was going by so fast that you could barely hit anybody in the Foot Clan, and it was kind of hard to tell when you were going to get hit by some of the traps in that one as well. Now, there were an assortment of different bosses from, I'm assuming, the TV show, which I was a little bit too young to remember all of the TV show. I remember quite a bit, but I thought the bosses were pretty imaginative and I liked them a lot.
All of the bosses, you definitely had to figure out their tactic so you could change up your tactic, which I really did enjoy. That way all the bosses didn't feel the same. But my personal favorite was Leatherhead the alligator, because he just kind of did an assortment of everything, and he'd throw knives and crawdads at you, and when he would whip you with his tail you would spin backwards. Just a really good boss and really good character design on his part. He was my favorite.
I think my favorite boss in this would have to be both of the Bebop and Rocksteady bosses. I thought it was pretty cool to see Rocksteady and Bebop from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was even cool to see like that huge Shredder from the second movie as well. In my opinion, even though that second movie has some problems with it, that Shredder is super fucking cool, and I loved seeing him in this game. I was really surprised and pleasantly happy. I would have to say that my least favorite boss, unfortunately, is the last one with Shredder, because he does a lot of different attacks that freeze you, or it makes it really hard to figure out when you're supposed to hit him. And I could see that being kind of annoying for some people, but I mean, it's not too much of a knock on the game because eventually we figured it out and it was pretty fun afterwards.
He was definitely my least favorite boss out of all of them, but with his difficulty, it didn't bother me that much because he was the final boss, but it was still one of those just figuring out his tactics and his weak point, and once you figured that out, executing it, in my opinion, it just felt all the more rewarding once you did figure out his tactic.
I could see that, and it's good for a last boss to really challenge you as well. It's just, I can't imagine being in the arcades or in a bar or something, trying to figure out how to beat this fucking guy while he's eating up all your money. Was this game in the arcades?
It was a port of the arcade version, but they did change something for it to work on the Super NES system.
Do you know of any of those changes?
I remember playing the arcade version in the arcades, but other than that, I don't remember a whole lot.
So, to today's modern audiences, and this is the real question, would you recommend this game?
Absolutely. Whether you're going for original hardware, emulators, whichever way you can experience this, I'd say it's definitely worth your while, where the game isn't terribly long, so you don't have to have a whole lot of time commitment, but it's just so much fun and entertaining. It's just like watching a good Saturday morning cartoon. You can't really go wrong.
I actually would agree with you. I was surprised by the amount of different options. There's an easy mode, there's a hard mode, there's different lives that you can choose.
And the thing I thought was very interesting is while exploring those options, it actually gives you the options to change the color of the turtles to match either the cartoon show or the comic, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I thought that was pretty cool too. It reminds me a lot of honestly newer games where it's like a love letter to the fans. And I thought that that was really cool about this game is they had all the fan favorites. They had your Bebop and Rocksteady. They had your Crane, which I don't even know if Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle people know who that is anymore. They had all these different characters, and I could see myself being a kid in the 90s really enjoying this game because they have all my favorite characters in the same way that maybe somebody really enjoys the Batman Arkham games because there's all these different characters that they know. I think that anybody of any age could probably play this game and still have a fun time, even if they're dying, which I don't think you will. You can get through it by button mashing. I don't know. Would you say that's a bad thing?
No, not necessarily. I feel that this game in particular just executes it very well to where it's not super frustrating and it's just done so well. Like we said before with the controls are very tight and very responsive.
For me, this game was a lot more about the adventure. It was about getting the Statue of Liberty back, which is just ridiculous, but it's about going through these different time periods, seeing these different characters, having a ton of fun, and, you know, getting some friends together and having a good time. So in my opinion, get the popcorn, get some pizza, maybe crack open some beers if you're older, and cowabunga, dude. This is The Colors of Gaming, signing out.